Now, speaking about some of your books, one of your books, which is the Black Wealth Through Black Entrepreneurship, right?
Yes,
I seen you had like a model, your Triad model.
that's correct.
So, can you explain a little bit more about that? It's like political power, economic power, and I guess the
And
ethnic
ethnic
roots.
rooting.
Yeah. So, can
Yes,
you explain a
yes,
little bit more to the readers what is the model Triad about when it comes to
absolutely.
entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. So, in my first book I wrote, Black Wealth Through Black Entrepreneurship, I was, as I mentioned, I was a graduate student at the Amos Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. And that's where I began my research to study the success factors for people of color and women who wanted to be entrepreneurs. Now keep in mind, I started this research in the 80s, right? And so there was not much activity in the 80s for people of color and women who were in terms of creating wealth in America. There was some, but it wasn't like it is now.
Right.
And so I wanted to look at how that is done, what are the success factors and parameters, but more importantly, why was it important? Well, why was power? Power is simply, as I say in the book, power is simply the ability to achieve your purpose in the face of adversity. So power is, as I define it. And so I felt that in America, in a system based upon capitalism, the way we get power is by building what I call in the book the power triad. The power triad is not unique to African Americans or any other group. Every group shares this triad dynamic. And what is it? It says that for any group in America or any society that's based upon capitalism, to prosper and be competitive, they have to first build what I call in the book the power triad. And the power triad consists of three lattices, right? Consists of ethnic rooting. Ethnic rooting says that you understand the value and contribution that people who look like you have made to your country and to the world. See, if you look at the civil rights movement in America, it was all about ethnic rooting. It was all about Black folks being recognized, number one, as human beings,
Right.
and then sharing in the basic human rights that every American, shares in. I mean, it was basic. The right to vote, the right to be protected from terrorism, the right to participate in the economy, the right to own property. These were basic American rights that were denied people of color, African Americans in particular. So ethnic rooting is that first part. That's why Dr. King and the movement focus on that ethnic rooting lattice.
Right.
The second lattice that's important is political power. That's why the 1965 Voting Rights Act was so critical, because it once and for all made it the law of the land that African Americans and people of color had the right to vote, and that right to vote would be protected. Right? So that gave us political power. Now, why is that important? Political power is important because your vote will determine how tax revenues are collected, how you be taxed, and then how that money that's collected, how it will be spent. That's why political power is so important. This recent election with President Biden and Vice President Harris is a perfect example of that. Because now if you look at President Biden's agenda, his agenda is much more sensitive to the needs of people of color and women than the prior administration. That's what political power gives you. Economic power is the third lattice of the power triad. Economic power says that I must be in a position where I can have leverage over how the economy is built and how it benefits my community. And I have always said in my books and my research that the way we build economic power is through entrepreneurship. That's my hypothesis. Now, some will agree, some will disagree, but this is Bob Wallace talking. And so I think we build the economic power through entrepreneurship. And if you look at every other ethnic group, particularly European ethnic groups that immigrated to America, they followed the same pattern. And they built their economic power primarily through entrepreneurship. Now we were denied that as people of African descent. We were denied that. And so we had to fight just to get the basic rights in the 60s and so forth. But now we're at a point now in the world, 2021, where I feel to complete the power triad, that we must complete the economic power ladders. So you got ethnic rooting, you got political power, then you have economic power. And when we build the economic power piece, we will have completed this power triad that we need to be respected and to be a player in a society based upon capitalism. And so in the book, I make that point, and I try to give people some motivation and reason why this issue of entrepreneurship is a civil rights issue, in my opinion. It is an economic power issue. And so I really focus on that in my writings, in my research.
Now, some people believe, specifically to America, I can't speak for other countries, that African Americans in particularly will never reach that level of economic power in this capitalistic society that they have in the US. So sometimes I agree with people when they say that, but other times I feel like a lot of people are just very pessimistic when it comes to economic growth. They just think the worst is going to happen and there's no way that we can progress. So do you think that we will ever get to a point where we have economic power in the US specifically?
Well, you know what, that is, I feel you. And I know that many of us feel you on that. And I will tell you, I have had my moments. I'm a little older than you are. I've had my moments, but the one thing that I've always retained is hope. Is hope. You know, there was in the civil rights movement. You probably have seen the tapes and the movies, and we had a saying that said, "We shall overcome." Well, why was that important? It was important because if you don't believe that you can overcome, then you just lay down and die, call it quits, right? If you don't believe that your tomorrow will be better than your today, then what reason's there to live? You just die. And so I've always felt there's no question that America has not been fair to us as a people over the 400 years. America has not lived up to its promise of equality and equity in our society. America has not paid off that check that they owe us as a people. Have we made progress? You bet we have. I can tell you, I've lived through the 60s and 70s and the 80s and 90s, now into a new millennium. We have made a great deal of progress, and we have to always retain hope. It will always be a battle. So racism will never go away. Newsflash. Right. Racism will never go away. Hate will never go away. Sexism will never go away. Ageism will never go away. So we must recognize that and gird ourselves up to be able to fight it, to fight the racism, to fight the sexism, to fight the classism that exists in our society today. And when we believe that our future will be better than our present, then it will change how we think. It will change the decisions that we make. It will change the hope, the level of hope that we persist with. And so, I'll tell you quite frankly, I never thought that we would ever see in my lifetime an African-American person be president of the United States. Well, Barack Obama had a different view on that, right? He had a different view. So it happened. And so as a man or woman thinketh in their heart, so are they. That's what the Bible says. As a woman or man thinketh in their heart, so are they. So in other words, you become what you think you are. You become what you think you can be. And so I'm saying, sister, that we need to protect how we think. We must retain hope. We must never give up the power of a dream, because those are the things that change the world and that change people. And so, yes, ma'am, it's a hard battle. It's a struggle, no question about it. It ain't fair, it ain't right, but it is what it is. But warriors learn how to gird themselves up and become smart and to be inquisitive and creative and to defeat and outthink the enemy. And we must always be in that mode as a people.